Welcome. In this video, I'm going to be replacing the battery in this 2000 Land Cruiser. So the procedures in this will be similar to other 100 series Land Cruisers, probably other Land Cruisers in general, and probably a lot of other cars in general. So here's the battery. I currently have this Bluetooth battery tester hooked up to it. So I'll switch over to my app that I use with this and we'll test the battery. Okay, so it's connecting up to Bluetooth. I'll hit battery test. I'll hit start. This is a regular flooded battery. I want to check it using cold cranking amps, and the battery value is 625. So that's printed on the battery. Okay, so I have all the settings here. I have regular flooded, cold cranking amps, and 625. I'll hit test. It says bad battery, please replace. State of health is 24%. State of charge says 0%, although it is somewhat charged up. Test value is 310 CCA. It says battery voltage is 1.23 volts. Internal resistance is 9.68. So I'm not loving that. I'm going to clean the terminals here a little bit and test that again. Okay, so I wiggled the terminals. I don't think I was getting a good connection. So it says the state of health is 58%, state of charge is 84%, test value is 480 CCA, voltage is 12.51, and internal resistance is 6.25. So it's easy to just trust these devices, but if something seems fishy, then you might want to retest. So this battery is 6 years old, so that's one reason I was suspecting that it might be bad, and I'd rather just replace it before it completely dies, so it doesn't leave me stranded somewhere. So I'm going to go over as many safety things as I can, but I may not cover everything. So if you don't know how to do this safely, this may not be the best project, although maybe you could do it with someone who knows how to do it safely so you can learn. But the best practice typically when you remove a battery is to put like a battery saver thing in to maintain power to the car while you take the battery out so you don't have to reset the computer and everything. But I don't have a good one of those, so I'll just let the computer reset after I get it swapped out. So I'll remove the positive battery terminal cover. I have the negative one already off here, and then I want to disconnect the battery. And actually it wouldn't have been a bad idea to leave that on until I get the negative disconnected, but the tools I have here is a 3/8" ratchet with a 10mm socket on it. So you always want to remove the negative first. If this ratchet comes into contact with this negative terminal and any of the metal around here, nothing will happen. On the other hand, if I was taking the positive loose and touched here, even though that's painted, but if it got through, that could spark, it could cause a fire, it could be very dangerous. So I'll put my ratchet on loosen, I'll go to the negative terminal, I'll loosen that up and I'll pull that off. So I don't have the new battery. When you buy a battery, there's what's called a core charge. So you need to take your old battery back and they'll give you money for it. So I could go buy the battery, swap it out and take this back, but I'm just going to take this battery with me. So when I buy the new one, they won't even have to charge the core charge. So now that the negative is disconnected, I'll do the positive. So that's on there pretty good. I'll have to try my other hand. I'm going to try wiggling this back and forth. Okay, and it's off. So you do need to be careful sometimes where if this is sitting back here, this might just flop on its own forward and you might get connection, so you want to watch those. So next we have the hold down bracket. So that's 12mm. So I have a 12mm socket there. So if any of the stuff is damaged, you might want to replace it, like this bracket, if it has corrosion on it, that's really bad. So I'll loosen this up. And this bolt I will take all the way out. Now you're in an area where you can easily drop this stuff down into the engine bay, so be very careful. Turn this over and put a bolt in it, and then I'll loosen this terminal. And actually that doesn't even need to be loosened. I can just pop it right out of there, like so. And now the battery's free. So I'm going to take this out and I'm going to buy a new one and I'll come back and we'll install it. Okay, so I got the battery and I actually got a different battery from what I was planning. I was planning on getting a 24F, but when I got to the store, the 27F seemed to be a better fit. So I don't know if I was confused about the previous battery size or what, because I thought I looked it up and I thought it was a 24F. So I got the 27F. This was just slightly taller, so I'll have to loosen this jam nut here and back this off a little bit. So this is the date code. Here, it's 822. They had some with some older date codes like 622, and I'm putting this in September. It's September 2nd, I think. So this was made last month. So if I had gotten one from June, it would have been fine, but I got the newer one because it was there. But if you see one that's like 1.5 years old, I would get a newer one or maybe go somewhere else to get a battery. So this is a Duracell battery. So you might think it's made with all the latest, greatest Duracell technology, but it's not. It's made by East Penn Manufacturing. They also make Deca. You can see it's 102 Deca Road. So there's very few companies that actually make these batteries. So when you're looking at batteries, you want to find out who made it, not necessarily the brand name on it. So this is 840 cold cranking amps. The previous one was 650. So this is a lot more cold cranking amps than the previous one. I'm pretty sure this also has a larger reserve capacity. So this battery here has a 3-year warranty on it. So there's a tiny bit of corrosion inside of the positive terminal. I thought about leaving it, but I have some battery cleaner here. I'll spray that in there. That was a little messy. I got it all over the place. So I'll let that sit for a minute. So if this was really bad, I would brush it off. If it was super, super bad, I would replace the terminal. But I'm going to rinse this off with this CRC QD electronic cleaner. I'll rinse all this stuff off with it because it got all over. Okay, so that'll dry pretty quick, and then I can clean the terminals. Even though I just cleaned them, I want to brush them. So next I need to loosen this up. So I have a 12mm wrench I'll put in here, in between these, like so, and then I'll loosen this up, and I'll adjust it until it's the right size, and I'll tighten the hold down, and then I'll tighten this jam nut on the top so this doesn't loosen. So unfortunately, I don't have a tripod out with me today, but it's pretty straightforward, so I'm going to do this off camera, and then I'll come back and show when it's done. Okay, so changing the size is coming back to bite me a little bit. This does not fit, so I need to get a spacer there and a longer bolt. So I'm going to head to the hardware store. I'll put a note in the comments as to what size bolt I went with. Okay, so to attach the hold down, I got this metric flange bolt. This is an M8 1.25 20mm, and it's stainless, and I got stainless washers. I got Imperial washers because they're a lot cheaper. I got 9 of these 5/16 inch washers to make the spacer here. So that seems to fit nicely. I actually took it to the hardware store and then fitted it before I even purchased this. But if you have to buy some, you might want to buy 10 in case they don't fit. So you don't have to use stainless either. I just got them because it wasn't that expensive and it'll last forever. Okay, so now I want to put the terminals on. So I'll remove the terminal cap here. And this looks super clean, but you always still want to brush it with a terminal brush. So I'll put that on there and I'll rotate it. And that will remove any oxidation. And then I'll take the cap off and I'll clean the terminal with the other side. So I find that these brushes here that clean the posts last way longer than the brushes that clean the clamps. So when I used to do this professionally, I had a separate brush I used just for the clamps because these would always get worn out. Now to keep this from corroding in the future, I have these Noco NCP2 corrosion preventative protectors. Now these are kind of a wet protector. They have like a wet type grease on them. If you squeeze them, the stuff will come out, and these are the kind I prefer. So I'll put the positive terminal on, and I want to press this down as far as it'll go, and then I'll tighten this up. So oftentimes you actually want to press down the clamp while you're tightening it, so I'll need both my hands for this. Okay, so I've tightened that down, and if I push hard, I can kind of move that, so I may want to replace this clamp. I'm going to keep an eye on it. If I have any charging system problems or anything, that'll be one of the first things I look at. Then I have this NCP2 corrosion preventive that I'll actually paint on here. So it's almost like a rubber cement kind of applicator. So I'll coat all the surfaces with this. You know, if it's metal, I want this on it. And you can even go in like the little gaps here. So this will go a long way towards preventing corrosion on the terminal, these two things. So, and I'll even probably go back and get all this. So off camera, I may go over and I'll do a little bit closer examination of this and make sure I have every little part of it. And once you have that, like so. Now, sometimes these may be missing, so they are, you can't put it back on. So I'll do the same to the negative terminal. So that's stuck on there pretty good. Sometimes you'll need like a screwdriver to pry that off. Come in down here somewhere. Now, see I have the screwdriver here? If I wasn't careful, if I had the positive terminal open, I could potentially cause a short. I'll pop that off, and it's in no man's land now. Okay, there I used my mad skills to retrieve that. Clean the post. I'll put a protector on there. And I'll clean the clamp. So you absolutely want to make sure this stuff is clean. If there's corrosion and stuff on it, you're potentially going to have problems with charging later, and it'll come back to bite you. So don't skimp on this. So now I'm going to put this on here, and I want to do it relatively quickly because when you're doing this, you're connecting the power to the car. So you don't want, like if you took this and you kept touching it on there, it would send a bunch of little shocks through the car system, and you don't really want to do that. So I like to get it on there, press it on hard, and get it tight. So I'll use both hands to do that, and I'll come back when it's done. Okay, so I got that on tight. I'll paint on the anti-corrosion stuff. Put the cover on, and we're good to go. I'm going to lower the hood and check for clearance, but this video won't make the light of day if it doesn't fit. So I'm going to hook up my tester, and I'll do another test on the new battery. Okay, so I'll start back at the battery test. I'll hit start. We need to change it from 625 now to 840. I'll hit test. And it says battery good, state of health 100%, state of charge 100%. Test value is 1015 CCA, voltage is 12.87, internal resistance is 2.96. So we're good to go now. And I don't know if I mentioned I ended up getting this at Sam's Club. A lot of times I'll go to Batteries Plus, but it was $50 cheaper at Sam's Club for pretty much the same battery. You do have to have a membership. Previously, I haven't had a membership, so I've gone to Batteries Plus. But I recently got a membership, so that's where I got the battery. So that's all I'm going to cover in this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you like this video, please click like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate if you could do that. And thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.